All right. I don't know if there's gonna be anyone who watches this or anything, so um, I got permanently banned off of a Reddit forum. So as you guys know, I did a video talking about the regular show news that came out over Friday, I think it was, or Thursday. It was one of the days. And I wanted to, share and inform people about the reboot and about the trailer coming out, about information about WonderCon for the panel for regular show, things of that nature. And, I've always tried to be a voice of reason to give, my viewers, to give you guys the most viable information, that I can. I do tons of research. I try my best to look into everything and not trying to go into so much of leaks and rumors and things like that because I want to try to keep things concise. So sometimes we'll discuss that kind of stuff over here, kind of more of a speculation, a discussion. But more times than not, I try to give you guys the most viable news. I don't want to waste your guys' time with a whole bunch of fluff and things like that because that's not what you guys are here for. I don't feel like that's what my viewers are here for. My viewers are here to learn about what's going on. If there's any way that maybe they can find out more information. That's why I always link all the sources that I go through, whether it's articles, Twitter pages, forums, whatever it is that I found my information. I always try to link it down below so that way you guys can check it out and read it for yourself. And I think that's very important, to me as a creator, but also as someone who appreciates giving people the truth because there's so much misinformation out there in the world. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with social media is that anyone could, put out a report or a rumor or say that they have a leak to something with no really credibility or viability to back up their claim. And I've always believed in the truth. I believe in telling you guys the truth. I don't believe in, messing with your intelligence because I know that my viewers are smart. You guys are very smart, you know, and I don't believe in that. So I'm saying all that to say I've been doing this for 4 years and I'm happy about it. Sometimes it gets on my nerves, yes, but there's times where I feel like with the animation community, I feel like there's certain people they tolerate. And if you're not of a certain personality, if you don't have a cartoon character on your screen to prove that you have this valid viability with the animation community, they don't want to take you seriously. And my thing is, not every creator is going to be the same. Not every creator is going to put jokes in their videos just to kind of seem like it's relatable. You guys are relatable. I'm relatable to you guys. That's you guys know this. I know this. I don't need to do that. I tried putting jokes and tried to go off of the trends and stuff. That's just not me. That's never been what my channel has been. I've always tried to, whatever news I can find that, you guys will want to know. Because when I made this channel, I thought about, the viewers in mind. Obviously, there's things on here that are passions for me that I do or I talk about or I react to because sometimes as a creator it's good to do what your audience is looking for, but sometimes it's also good to do some things that you enjoy, you have an interest in, and you can kind of create another audience from there. So that's why you guys have kind of noticed I've been doing a lot of trailer reactions and things like that because I'm trying to branch out not in just one part, but into multiple parts of YouTube, gaming, Marvel, DC, the Michael Jackson stuff. I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, so obviously, the biopic I had to, do reactions and stuff, try to keep up with that. And I also want to say thank you to everybody who's, been hitting me up from the Michael Jackson community and telling me your stories and just everything, how much you guys are excited for the movie and everything. Like, I love hearing your stories. I love hearing how excited you are, because I'm just as excited as you guys to go see the biopic April 24th. I'm going to be right there in the theater, so I'm very excited about that. But to ramble on, going back into the whole point of, I post my videos on Reddit, through Reddit pages and forums and just social media in general. I try to get myself out there where I can. And a lot of Reddit pages are a lot of people in those Reddit pages can be very rude and quite vile when it comes to creators who may be just sharing information that they may need to hear, that no one else is talking about. But instead of kind of showing that kind of grace, I think it's more of, well, you're a content creator, why are you posting stuff in here? Oh, somebody else has already posted what you posted, so I don't need to hear what you need to say. Like, but it's like, I could have information that you might not have heard from somebody else, and then you miss that information. And it's like, well, why didn't anybody tell us about this? Well, somebody did, but you refused to listen to the information that was being provided. So what can you really do? And the frustrating thing for me is because, like I said, I've done so much for the animation community, and I feel like I never get my flowers for what I do, and it's not about that for me. But I feel like at the same time, when all these other creators do what they do, right? People love what they do. But me, whenever I give out information that a lot of them don't give out, I'm not treated with the same respect. And I probably know some reasons why. Some reasons are obvious more than others, but I don't care what they think. I don't care what these other viewers think of me, because I try my best. I don't get everything right. Nobody's going to get everything right. And even if I don't get something right, I always try to, in the next video, correct myself to say, like, okay, here's an update on this. I was wrong about this. I don't want to try to leave people astray when it comes to that, because I understand how it is to get information, and then sometimes things may change, and then it's kind of like, well, dang, this guy was saying this, but now this kind of happened. So am I supposed to believe him? So people have a really hard time trusting people on the internet, and because a lot of people clickbait, waste their times, throw on these 10-minute videos just to get monetization, and they don't talk about anything. Their words are so jumbled into each other, and they use memes and jokes to try to prove that what they're doing is correct. And it's never that. It's not that for me. Like I said, I may put a joke in, one or two jokes in there maybe every once in a while, but I'm not here to be a class clown. I'm not here to be the meme king. I'm just here to be me, and I'm gonna be me. I'm not gonna change myself. I'm not gonna waver myself down just because that's what people want, or that's because that's what's trending. If that works for those other channels, hey, do your thing. But for me, I'm gonna do what works for me. And it's very disappointing that the regular show Reddit decided to remove my video. The moderator says, well, we have about 10 billion other posts about this, so we're gonna remove yours. So I'm like, okay, well, I responded to them saying, well, okay, I understand if there's other people who have posted about the video that went out about the trailer, and I think that video got taken down because I think they did it too early. But they got it up now because there's a new teaser that's out for the trailer that's going to be coming out tomorrow, I believe. So I talked about that, but then I talked about an article that went through about the regular show reboot being on Cartoon Network, and some other. I'm sure it may be on Cartoon Network here in the U.S. It may also go to streaming. That's something we're still gonna have to find out. So when we do get that information, I'm gonna do a video and update, people on, where it's going to be. Because again, I believe in, at least updating people on what's going on with the project. If, even if people already know, it's still good to display that information out there anyway. So with that in mind, they removed my post from the regular show Reddit, which I was like, okay, well that's fine. But then today, I got a I got a statement in my chat from Reddit from the Warner Brothers animation uh, Reddit, and it said, "You've been permanently banned," and I said, well, "Huh? Permanently banned? Like for what reason?" And I think the reason is because I was posting videos in there about the Looney Tunes Speedy Gonzales movie and some other projects that were coming out from Warner Brothers Animation. Because I think the issue is it sucks when there are other creators inside those Reddits posting their videos, but then when it comes down to my videos, it's like there's a problem. And I don't know if there are people who have a vendetta against me or a bias against me. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, it's like there's somebody on Reddit who just does not like me. And to that person or to that group of people, that's fine if you don't like me. That's fine if you don't like my content. You don't like seeing my stupid face. Whatever things you have to say about me on your downtime. You don't have to click on the videos. You don't have to watch the videos. You don't even have to listen to me speak. The amazing thing about the world is we got the freedom to choose to watch what we want to watch and choose not to watch the things that we don't want to watch. So you don't have to watch me. You don't have, like I said, it's not going to bother me because there's 10 of others that are going to watch the content that I produce. Um, and I want to take the time to say thank you to everybody who has been supportive of my content, sharing my content, commenting on the content, liking the content, liking the styles that I'm doing. I've been working so much on trying to differentiate myself from other channels, and I've always been big about that. I don't want to feel complacent like I'm doing the same thing. I always want to try to change it up every year. So I've been just doing a whole bunch of different techniques and things, what works, what doesn't work, what I can improve on. And that is one of the biggest main focuses for me when it comes to all of this. And those people on Reddit will never understand that because, for one, those people on Reddit, they're just only relevant because they have a moderation role. You know, it's easy being a moderator. It's not oh my God, it's a gold pass VIP job. It's not really, anybody can be a moderator, but there's a difference between good moderators and bad moderators, and just moderators who use their power to feel like they have some instilled, power over other people. And you don't have power over me. You don't have control over me because I'm still going to post my videos on YouTube. I'm still going to keep putting out good content like I have been doing and keeping consistent. So to the people on Reddit who got a problem with me, hey, I'm still here. I ain't going nowhere. So it is what it is. And the Warner Brothers Animation Reddit for permanently banning me, that's cool. Um, that's fine with me. I try to bring conversation in there. But what else can you do? What else can you do? It is what it is. All your Reddit is just gonna be people posting the same meme clips over and over again. And if that's the kind of content you want on your Reddit forum, hey, I have no problem with you doing that. Uh, I tried. I tried to maybe instill some new information and maybe try to get a good discussion, but maybe I need to start my own Reddit. Maybe I need to start my own Reddit so that way I can post content, and if you guys have content, maybe you guys want to post your content, maybe that's something I should do. I want to, obviously, if it's weird content that, isn't really something I'm cool with, or it's disturbing, obviously, no, we wouldn't have that kind of content within the space or the forum. But if you're doing, content about something that you're passionate about, something that you have wanted to talk about, you guys would have the freedom to do so. It's just, it's got to be appropriate. But I don't know if I would do a Reddit, but if I did, that is something I would do, because I everybody's got to start somewhere, and sometimes people don't know exactly where to go. So sometimes they go to these Reddit forums to post their videos, or wherever to share their content, because they just don't know where to really share it. And you can try to share it on Twitter and Instagram and things like that as much as you want. Sometimes it'll pop off, sometimes it won't. So that's why it's good to have other social media out there that you could, maybe turn to and go to. I've had people ask me about doing a Discord. I would like to, but a Discord is kind of a lot of work. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work, and I just don't want any drama. You know what I mean? I want people to get along. I want people to, have good conversations, no fighting, name calling, all that stuff. I just want people to be mature. And sometimes people aren't mature enough to, do that kind of stuff or follow those kind of rules. So I don't know if I would ever do a Discord. Maybe that'll change over time, but right now I just don't think it's in the cards. So maybe I'll just stick to doing YouTube and, on Twitter. I'm on Twitter if you guys want to follow. I tweet every now and then. I try not to be on Twitter too much because Twitter can even be a lot. Um, so just wherever you see my socials, that's where I am. But I will not be on Reddit anymore. I will not be posting on Reddit anymore. Even if the information is something that, people need to know, I won't be posting there anymore because of just being banned multiple times for just sharing my content. And I understand if the rule is no content sharing, but I feel like if certain people have rights to do it, but then you don't allow other people to do it, it kind of feels wrong. And I think that's the problem with these Reddit pages, is that they allow certain people to get away with certain things, but if it's you, then you're the ultimate problem. So again, I said my piece on the Reddit thing. It is what it is. I'm gonna just keep sharing my content here, Instagram, Twitter, um, Discord. If I'm in a Discord and maybe they allow content sharing, I'll share it there. But other than that, I'm not doing Reddit anymore. It's a very toxic place, and I wouldn't suggest anyone putting their content on there. And again, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's just the animation community as a whole, because it's not. There's been some amazing people that I've met through the animation community that support me, and have been very open, have been very open when it comes to me. So I really appreciate all of you who have been. It's just the small percentage of people who treat me as if my channel, because it's not the bigger names that are out there, that there's no relevance to me. But again, I've done interviews with people from Marvel. April 4th will be the 1 year anniversary of me doing my Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man interview with Jeff Trammell. And I think about that interview a lot. I watch that interview a lot because it's one of my most proudest moments. If you would have told me 4 years ago that I would be interviewing someone at Marvel, let alone Marvel Animation, who does Spider Man, you know, if you would have told me that, I would have not believed you, because I would have been like, what, really? Me, Marvel? Like, yeah, no way. And then also on top of that, like, Eric and Julia Lee Wald for also, providing the interview about X-Men 97 and X-Men the animated series. You know, two shows that I love, one show that I spent my entire childhood watching because I love the X-Men characters so much. And the fact that they allowed that opportunity, they gave me that opportunity, I'm forever blessed, you know, for that. And I want to continue bringing interviews with other people in not just the animation space, but in the entertainment space in general. You know, it would be amazing to interview people who've done video games, who have done, you know, movie roles, you know, TV roles, comic books, you know. I would love to, one of the people I would love to interview is, her name is Stephanie. You guys know who I'm talking about, who's doing the new Daredevil run. I would love to interview her and kind of get her insight on, you know, her doing Daredevil, the comics, and her love for Daredevil and things like that. And maybe that's an interview that I can do. Another interview that I would love to do, I'm putting it out there right now, is Liam McIntyre. If you know who Liam McIntyre is, he's going to be voicing Wolverine in the Insomniac Wolverine game that's coming out this year. Would love to do an interview with him, so I'm hoping that I can get something there. There's some other people that I won't say that I'm trying to get, but I definitely have some people in mind that I think you guys would just, you guys would love, you know. And I say all that to say, you know, no matter what I deal with, no matter what I go through with Reddit or, you know, the haters or the people who underestimate me or things in my own personal life that I'm going through, no matter what, all I've ever learned how to do in my life is three things: sacrifice, purpose, and overcome. I've sacrificed so much of my time, my heart, my mental state, you know, just in life in general, just to make others happy or to do that. And I know like my happiness should come first. And I know people tell me that all the time, but sometimes I don't think about myself. I don't. I'm just so busy, you know, just going on to what the next thing is, that I just, like I said, I just sacrifice what I have. And then, you know, purpose. Purpose is something that we're all trying to find right now. You know, everybody has a purpose. Even the people on that Reddit, they're trying to find purpose right now as we speak. And for some, that purpose is being a moderator. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you gotta learn that other people have a purpose too, not just you, but other people have a purpose in what they're doing. So I think that's what it comes down to. And I mean, overcome. I mean, I've overcome so much stuff in my life that I'm grateful. You know, I'm grateful for the things that I have dealt with. And even though I may be going through some stuff right now, I'm still here. You know, I'm still able to wake up in the morning. I'm still able to, you know, watch these shows that I'm excited for. You know, watch this the brand new day trailer that came out this week, which is it's been amazing just going back and rewatching that trailer and just trying to dissect and see what Easter eggs and things I can pick out, and talking with other people about the trailer. And just Daredevil's gonna be season two is coming out next week, which I'm excited for. We got Invincible going on right now. The Boys will be here. Spider Noir is going to be coming up in May. There's so much going on this year that, regardless of all the crappy things going on in my life, I have some things to wake up to look forward to. And I think that's my message to anybody who may be going through it right now, who may be depressed, may be down on their luck, you know, feel asking why they're even here. There's a reason why you're here. Everybody has a special reason. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not supposed to be here, because you were born and meant to be here for a purpose. You know, we all, like I said, we all have a purpose. It's just, it takes some of us a lot longer to find out what our purpose is. You know, it's an ongoing process. And give yourself grace. Give yourself grace, you know. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's advice I need to take for myself, because I can be very hard on myself a lot of times, and I don't really give myself that grace like I should. So that's also advice that I need to take, but I'm going to get there. I'm gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I'm just I'm just I'm here. I'm here, and I'm just living. I'm living life, and again, that's all we really can do. And for the people that maybe saw my last stream about what was going on, yeah, it this year has definitely been something. I'm sure it's been a journey for you guys too, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I really wouldn't. I'm gonna see what you guys are saying. Kelly Simone, welcome to the stream. Fama account, welcome to the stream. Hi, how are you? Hi, I'm okay. Besides this Reddit situation, I'm okay. Caden, what's up? Jace was right all along. I tried telling him. Oh, and Reddit is trash. People will bash you for even staying on topic. Terrible website. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. Like, I'll even give you a good example, right? So, I've been following the Michael Jackson biopic Reddit, right? And you have some good posts on there. You have people saying like, "Oh man, I'm excited for the movie, and look at how this looks, and look how Jafar is moving here, and things like that." But then you have people, they're nitpicking, they're complaining, they're finding a reason to hate on the movie, without even seeing the movie. And it gets very like draining when almost every message in the forum is just people hating on the film to give a reason to hate on the film. And it's like, guys, we have not seen the film. Or marketing, right? They're complaining about the marketing, but to be honest with you, the Michael Jackson biopic has had the most marketing I've seen for a movie in a long time. Marvel movies don't even get this amount of marketing that the Michael movie is. And I get it's a new territory for some of the fans, and I completely understand that. But at the same time, you got patience. Patience is a virtue, and we're getting closer and closer to the film. And marketing is going to go crazy. If people don't think that the marketing for the Michael movie isn't going to go crazy, they're already going on late night shows. I believe the cast of the Michael Jackson biopic are going to be on the Jennifer Hudson show tomorrow. They possibly may be on other talk shows, the news. They're going to be putting up billboards all over the world for this movie. This movie's going to have so much marketing to the point that it's going to be unavoidable, like Superman was. If you guys remember last year how Superman, the marketing was everywhere. Shirts, cups, commercials, everything. If you don't think that there aren't going to be that large amount of marketing for this film, I don't know what to tell you, because it's going to happen. And when it happens, I promise you, the amount of complaints that people are having right now, all that is going to drain out. Um, and that's why I got faith. I got to keep the faith. We got to keep the faith when it comes to stuff like this. And I know it's hard to wait. Where's the trailer for this? Where's the trailer for that? And I have that same problem. It was like that for Brand New Day. But now that we finally got that trailer, I'm so glad we got it when we did, because now we see what they've been working on as far as the movie. Now, obviously, the movie is not done. When trailers come out, that does not mean that the movie is done. And over time, when you see trailers and TV spots, the movie's still being worked on. So that's something to keep in mind. But just being able to see what everybody involved, the cast and crew, the VFX artist, everybody involved, the sound team, has worked so hard on. I just think it's an amazing moment for not just us, the viewers, us, the fans that love these properties, love these movies, but also in the movie industry. When sometimes I feel like the movie industry can get a lot of hate for things, there's a lot of joyous things to be, excited about within the movie industry. And I believe, us being the future generation. And a lot of people want to say, oh, there's no current movie stars in the next generation. There's no movie stars. I don't believe in that sentiment. I believe there are movie stars. It's just that, do people choose to acknowledge the movie stars, or are we making new movie stars? And it comes down to, are movies new movie stars being made? And I think there are some that are being made, but I feel like there are some that they're they're just waiting for an opportunity. They're just waiting for a moment for someone to say, "You, we want you in this. We want you in that. Show us what you got." And that's all they need, just that opportunity to grow, that opportunity to show what they have. And that's just in life in general. You just don't know what potential someone has until you give them an opportunity to show it. And I think that once you give people an opportunity to show it, they get out of that shell of, what they feel, the self-doubt, the self-worth, that can I do this, can I not do this, why should I do this, I'm too scared, I'm too worried, I'm scared that I'm going to fail. Failure is a part of the process. No one's going to win every time, no one's going to succeed every time, and that's okay. But knowing that you tried, knowing that you made an attempt at the opportunity, knowing that you took that risk, not knowing how the outcome was going to be, it's going to be bittersweet, and you learn experience from it. Everything that you go through in life is an experience. Everything that you take from your failures is an experience to help you better the next time. And I think that's the one of the coolest things about life. Life is literally throwing you gems right at your, right at your feet. It's just, if are you willing to take those gems and make a necklace out of it, to say, these are my gems, these are the diamonds, the gold, the emerald, the ruby, the sapphire. you know I made this with my bare hands. I worked hard for this. Hard work will pay off. And when I think about that, I think about Michael B. Jordan and how long he has been in the acting industry for so long, down to being a kid and acting in TV shows, and now to see him throughout his career play so many different roles. And, seeing him win for best lead male at the Oscars, it put a big smile on my face, because it gave me hope that one day I could be on that stage. I could be one of the black men, with up there with Denzel and Sidney Poitier and Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith. All of these amazing actors that I grew up with, that I look up to know that there's a chance, there's an opportunity for someone in the next generation to hold that pass that baton. I think it's a very bittersweet and amazing thing. And yeah, I'm bummed out about them not winning best film, because I thought Sinners was way better than one battle after another, and I stand true with that statement. But I think just knowing the opportunity that he won out of all the other, you know, people that were nominated, he was able to win for the role that he did. He worked hard for. And people are saying, "Oh, he's demanding extra money to play in Miami Vice." He deserves to. He earned that Oscar. He had to crawl and run and everything to get to this point in his career. So if he's asking for an extra 18 million for Miami Vice, he has every right to. He's earned it. When you win an Oscar, prices just went up. That's the way it works. And if I was to win an Oscar, I would be doing the same thing. Unless it's something I'm really passionate about that I don't mind doing. But again, if I won an Oscar, prices just went up. I want to get paid more. And these actors have the right to express that. And people, and that's why I say, like, that is why, factual information is important, because there's a lot of people who will try to spin narratives about what you want. Because people say, "Oh, he demanded $18 million. But then if Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio was to do a film, they're negotiating. So you say for them that they're negotiating $18 million. But for Michael B. Jordan, you want to state it as if he's demanding it. That's what I have a problem with the media sometimes. The media will try to make you look bad for wanting something that, again, you earned for. And that's why I say viable and factual information and how you state things is important. It's very important. That's why I choose the way I say things in my videos, because it's important to know what I'm talking about, and it's also important to know, where this is going, because you can tell in certain people's YouTube videos what they're trying to do, what they're trying to say, what motives they have. So I try to steer clear of what the message is. But yeah, Reddit is just another place like the internet. You're gonna have rude people, you're gonna have people who are jerks on there, but then you're gonna have good people who are, you know, just trying to do well. You should have more subs than Velsky Bum. I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jeff. It was awesome having Jeff Trammell on the show, and I can't wait to have him again for season two and season three. Love Jeff. He's amazing. What he's doing, what him and his team is doing with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is just, it's amazing. I'm actually working on some stuff from that interview. I'm gonna try to cut up some clips of that interview and try to, re-edit, not re-edit, but try to add some more different graphics to it now. Now that I know how to properly piece together an interview and what to do. Because, in that first one thing that I had regrets is that I didn't put enough graphics within the interview. But now that I'm doing these clips, I can try to add a little bit more graphic, a little bit more visuals on the screen for you guys to see while me and him discuss, things about the show and things like that. And then, like I said, I love that interview. I love the interview with Eric and Julia Leewald. Those are just amazing moments that I'll never forget. And I hope that one day I can do a person-to-person interview with them, a sit-down interview. And that's something I would love to just get into. And maybe I'll do podcasts. I'll put the videos out on the interviews out on Spotify and stuff like that. And there's a lot of avenues this could really go. So it's bigger than just one thing. It's bigger than just animation. It's bigger than just Marvel. It's bigger than just DC and all the stuff that I talk about. There's a bigger plan at hand, and I see the vision. That's all I'm gonna say. I see the vision, and yeah, and I know you guys are probably wondering what am I gonna do on my second channel. My second channel is just gonna be more low key, more chill. Not too much going on over there. Just me talking about life stuff, and I appreciate the people, like the support on that. I didn't expect, a whole lot of people watching that, but the amount of people that did, I really appreciate. I can't wait for you guys to hear a bit of my stories and just maybe some life advice that maybe I can give, because we all need something. We all need something to help get us through, whether it's somebody to talk to or just words of encouragement, things like that. So that's what my second channel is going to be, and you're just going to see my life. I'm going to travel places. I'm going to try to vlog it, and just, yeah, I just want to take you guys on that journey with me. So that second channel I'm really excited about, because it's a breath of fresh air for me. I'm getting to do something that I haven't really had the opportunity to do before. So yeah. Yeah, team. That's what, yeah, dream team. Dude, just wow. That's just wow. Yeah, yeah. It is a bummer what happened, but it is what it is. It is what it is. GTA 6, for instance, exactly. We got GTA 6 coming up. I mean, there's so much going on this year. there's a lot to be excited about. Like for real, there's just so much to be excited about, and I'm ready. I'm ready. It's funny. It's funny you call me James Harden and Cleveland Brown. I appreciate it though, because guess what? They're successful black figures. Cleveland Brown is a cartoon character who has ranged for many seasons, so hey, I'll take that. And James Harden, he's still in the game right now in the NBA, so hey, I'll take that. So I appreciate it. Hey, long time no see, Maceo. Hey, welcome. I'm looking forward to Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's about time they bring in Scorpion. Yeah, I'm excited too. There's so much going on in this film that it's like, is this really real? Like, are we really about to experience all of this? You got Punisher, you got Hulk, you got Scorpion, Boomerang, Tombstone, possibly the Jackal. If you guys have been hearing about maybe Keith David maybe playing the Jackal. Jean Grey, Sadie Sink, maybe Jean Grey. There's so much going on with that film. It's just I'm so ready for July 31st. I'm ready to see what they do. I'm ready to see where they take all of this because it just sounds insane. Possibly Man Spider, as well. The mutation going on with Peter. Like, oh man, like Brand New Day. I'm going to say it right now. Brand New Day might just be the best Spider Man film. It might just become that. Like seriously, like it might just become that with just so much that's going on. It legit feels like a comic book movie. It's like all of these ties to different projects like the Punisher story, then you got maybe Daredevil with the whole key to the city thing with Spider-Man, maybe the Void, if you saw the shot, the Amazing Fantasy shot, it looks like it's in the Void. Then you got the mutant saga going on with Jean Grey and Bill William Metzger, who's like a mutant hater in the comics. Is now director of Damage Control. Damage Control going after people with mutations and stuff. Kind of continuing that off with Wonder Man. It's just there's so much connecting with Brand New Day now that it's just getting me excited. And I think this is the movie that we needed. We needed, we needed a movie in the MCU that's connecting all the dots. I feel like we haven't had that besides maybe Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, Avengers Doomsday. Like that stuff is connecting. Possibly, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, um, and stuff like that. But I feel like there hasn't been too much, interconnectability, but now it seems like they're trying to connect as much as they can, not just with the movies, but somewhat with the TV shows like Daredevil and, Jessica Jones coming back. And who knows who else we might see. We might see Iron Fist, we might see Luke Cage, we might see Colleen Wing, maybe Misty Knight. It would be awesome to see them. Just the whole Defenders verse, bring back the Defenders verse, bring back all those characters, maybe have them interact with the greater MCU in some films. There's so much possibility now with bringing back all these characters and Marvel, starting up the X-Men, and now we got the Fantastic Four on board. Like this is what we wanted from the beginning. All these characters intertwining in this one universe. And I think after Secret Wars, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get that dream MCU timeline that people have been asking for. And I just think it's a very exciting time. I'm going to try to do a stream talking about Brand New Day at some point because I definitely want to lean more into Brand New Day and also Daredevil. Maybe that's what I'll do. The first episode of Daredevil comes out Tuesday, right? Have you been sticking your fingers in electrical outlets? You know, that's funny you say that because when I was younger, my mom told me not to stick fingers where they don't belong. Now, I don't know about you. Maybe you put your fingers in electrical outlets, but I don't do that. And if you're talking about my hair, this is my hair. I like it. I like the way it looks. I could care less what you think. So simple. I hope that answers your question. How old am I? I'm 24. September 18, 2001. So yeah, I'm 24. I probably don't look 24. I probably look younger. I've gotten that many times in my life. So yeah, you can thank the genes for that. The good genes I have. Shout out to my family for having good genes. You know. Have you ever thought about collabing with other big YouTubers? I have. I have a list of content creators I would love to collab with. I think one big one is the Normies. If you guys watch the reaction channel of the Normies, I think they're really cool people. I watch the reactions quite frequently, and they all seem like really cool people. So definitely them. Um, Dre Mac, I don't know if you guys watch Dre Mac. Dre Mac is another one that I definitely want to collab with at some point. I have a long list of creators that I think are pretty cool, that I definitely would like to collab with at some point. Just trying to figure out like how to collab with them or what we can collab on. So once I can like figure that out, we'll see what we can do. You know. I'd say like Phase Hero is another one. I think they're still called Phase Hero. Or they call Phase Zero. You guys know what I'm talking about. They're also another channel that I would love to collaborate with. There's just different channels, like I said, that I watch, that I enjoy watching. Um, and even like some smaller ones. There's some smaller channels that I would like to collab with too. Nostalgia Time is welcome. What happened to you on Reddit? Just joined the stream. I've never used Reddit and never will. Okay, well, long story short, I used to post my videos on Reddit, on some Reddit pages, and to keep it quite simple, they would ban me because I would post my videos on Reddit. Even though there were other creators posting their videos on the same Reddit, but for some reason they had took issue with my videos, even though my videos are very, informative, and you guys watch my videos, they're very informative and letting you guys know about, um, what's going on, what information, things like that. So they banned me, and then the other Reddit, the regular show Reddit, which the video was based on the regular show reboot stuff, that the news that we're getting, the news that has been kind of going around, and yeah, they removed my video off of that because they said, well, there's other people talking about the same thing, but it's like my video had like so much more information to it than just that. Like I talked about an article within the video about some more information that wasn't talked about. I talked about the WonderCon panel that's going to be this week for regular show. It's like a Q&A panel, and I think they're going to be showing some kind of sneak peek of the regular show reboot. I'm not sure what it'll be, but if there is any footage or a description of the footage, then I will definitely do a video on that. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I watch Real Rejects and The Perfect Mix. They're good reaction channels. Yeah, I watch Real Rejects sometimes. I haven't watched The Perfect Mix yet, but I have come across their videos before. But honestly, while we're on the topic, what channels would you like to see me collaborate with? You know, they could be big or small, it doesn't matter. I'm a fan of Zendaya's MJ. Like, they never explain why Pete has a crush on MJ. I think that's more of, well, Homecoming in a way did a little bit, but I think with this new trilogy, what they're trying to do for right now is they're trying to reestablish these characters because, you know, MJ, she was Michelle Jones. But with the spell and everything, I feel like they're going to kind of retcon the Michelle Jones and just make her Mary Jane Watson. And I think that's why they're keeping them apart. Even though Peter is still, you know, he still has feelings for her and, you know, he's still thinking about her. I think for this movie right now, I don't think they're going to get back together until maybe the end of the second movie in the trilogy because it would just make sense to kind of, you know, further that story into now like okay, this is, you know, proper, you know, Mary Jane Watson. This isn't Michelle Jones. This is Mary Jane Watson. And even in the trailer, you notice like she's dressed differently. She's got a little bit of red hair, you know, going on with her hair and stuff. So they're trying to, you know, reiterate like, okay, this is a new Mary Jane. This isn't the same Mary Jane that Peter knows, you know. At least to me, that's what it seems like. I've been rewatching Daredevil Born Again season one, and I'm excited for season two. Sorry for misspelling on Daredevil. You're good. You're good. I rewatched Daredevil Born Again season one. I think a few months ago, and yeah, there's definitely like some things in there that you can tell like from the older regime from when they were doing the show that they had to piece together with the new showrunners and the direction that they were going. But I think with season two, we're not going to have that problem. You know, season two, we're going to, you know, have a fresh, clean slate with the new showrunners, and they're going to kind of bring us that vibe of their original show, what people were looking for and expecting. You know, not to say that season one didn't have that, but you can tell with certain moments with season one that, yeah, the older regime definitely had some things in there that they kind of just, you know, put in there. So, yeah. K-pop vibes. Who are you saying ill to? All right, I'm gonna get you out of here. There. Anybody else want to go? Since people have jokes and want to make fun of my appearance, like I don't get people, man. I really don't get people. Like what? How pathetic and sad do you have to be to go into someone else's stream to try to make other people feel bad because you feel bad about yourself. And that's what a lot of these no face, no name people on the internet, what they like to do. They try to make other people feel bad and hate things because they hate themselves. And if you hate yourself, don't go around trying to make other people hate themselves or make them feel bad about how they look and how they, you know, things that they enjoy because you're just only making yourself look like the horrible person in the end. You know, so to that person, you know, you're not going to be here. We don't tolerate that. I'm not going to tolerate that. So again, Anybody else got any other comments on my appearance, jokes, whatever? Let me know so I can go ahead and get you on out of here. Um, because we're not going to tolerate that. Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, or Tobey Maguire. That's a good one. I feel like each one has something that they offer that's different, but right now, and it may change, but right now with Brand New Day and just how excited I am for this new era, this new walk of life for, Tom's Peter Parker. I'm gonna say his Peter Parker right now. I'm gonna say him, because I like the direction where they're taking him. I like where they're going, and I'm very curious. I'm very curious what they're gonna do. But I'd say Toby. Toby's my goat. Uh, but I like Tom too. I like Andrew. I like all of them for different reasons. Speaking of Daredevil, I think we might get him in Brand New Day because we're getting Frank in the Hand. We have to be getting him. I feel the same way. I really do. I feel the same way. I think Matt has to show up because even with that shot with the hand, like in the air with Spider-Man and the hand in the air at the end of the trailer, there's people missing. And I honestly feel like Daredevil has to be one of the people in that shot. And they just edited him out because if they would have put him in the trailer, that would have been such a big surprise. That's something you want to save for, the theater, right? You don't want another, No Way Home situation where you put out a trailer and people can definitely tell that there are two other people fighting alongside Tom in the movie. That kind of did spoil the movie, and then also John Campia as well. Oh no, no, don't worry, guys. This isn't real, art from the movie. This is concept footage, and then come to find out it was real. Um, I don't think Sony wants another situation like that again. So I think they're gonna play it very safe this time around. That's why we got the trailer so late. I feel because they're trying to play it safe. Yeah, yeah, exactly that wide shot. Yeah. I definitely think it's Daredevil and another person. Now, I've had the theory and I've said that it could be Jean Grey. And the reason why I say Jean Grey is because, you know, I think if with Peter being captured, right, maybe at that point in the movie, I don't know if that is at the end of the movie or towards the middle of the movie. That's something we'll have to see on. But I feel like there has to be like another person. I think Jean Grey would make sense if Peter maybe helps, Jean Grey out in some way, and so maybe she feels like she has to return the favor. Yeah. They haven't even revealed Sadie Sink yet. Yeah, they haven't. The only thing we've gotten of Sadie Sink is the shots of her being captured, and you can see her hands, you know, locked up, and then obviously the one scene where she's in a hoodie doing that in the trailer. Like, those are the only snippets we've got. Now, I know in the leaked trailer, we got actual dialogue from her, but they cut that out. That might be saved for another trailer. I don't know. We'll see on that. But I think it more and more with just how the trailer is presented, and even that scene with the lady in the tank, right? Like, obviously that older lady didn't control that tank. Um, and no, that guy with the damage control, he's not controlling himself to just move all frantically and moving on to the next person up in the balcony of the building. No, it has to be somebody with some kind of mind control, some kind of telepathy power who's doing that. And it's starting to line up more and more that she is Jean Grey. And I know a lot of people have been kind of questioning, like, Why would they introduce Jean Grey in a Spider-Man film? And I think it makes sense because, again, when you line up the fact that with the plot of this movie, from what it sounds like, they're going to try to differentiate the difference between a mutate and a mutation. Obviously, Spider-Man, the Hulk, they're mutates. But Jean Grey, she's a mutation. She's a mutant. So that's going to be the way for them to differentiate that. But also at the same time, what has been one of the big criticisms that people have had about Marvel since Phase 4? A lot of people have felt like the new characters that they've introduced, we haven't had the time to really settle with them. We haven't really had the time to, understand their characters and the plot and the plight of these characters. So, what better way to kind of get a head start on that than introducing a mutant character? We already have mutant characters. Miss Marvel, she's a mutant. Wonder Man, Doorman, we already have mutant characters within the MCU. They're just lurking around. But I think what the story that they're trying to tell is the mutants have always been, there in the MCU. It's just they've been in hiding, they've been hiding around. I mean, we just really didn't know. They're just now getting revealed out now because of what's going on with Doomsday. You know, we got the incursions coming. We got Doctor Doom coming. At some point, the mutants will have to come out of hiding at some point, and what better way to do that than to do it? And I think also Spider-Man, just his history, not just in movies, but in animation, but also in comics. Spider-Man is a very easy character to put beside another character, um, to kind of be more digestible. And I think that's why we have so many characters, in other Spider-Man shows and movies and comics and properties, because he's just the easiest one for people to kind of go like, okay, I could see Spider-Man with this character. How would Spider-Man interact with that character? So that's why, and I think also too with Kevin Feige being a big X-Men fan, he worked on the X-Men films back in the 2000s. And I'm sure there's some things that, when he was working on the X-Men films in the 2000s, I'm sure there's things that he wanted to, establish first off. And if you know about the X-Men history, X-Men issue number 1, the first ever X-Men comic, the first ever character we get introduced to is Jean Grey, and we get her perspective on what it's like to join the X team, what it's like to meet all the other X-Men characters at the time, like Beast and, Iceman and Charles Xavier and Scott Summers, all of these characters, right? So I think he wants to try to do a more comic established history with introducing a character like Jean Grey for us to follow in the perspective of her eyes. Because a lot happens with Jean Grey in the X-Men history. A lot happens with her. She goes through a lot. And they want to give a sense to make you really feel for her early on, because again, she goes through so much. All the other X-Men characters go through so much too, but I feel like Jean Grey is one of the main ones, along with Cyclops and Storm and Wolverine and even Rogue, I feel like are like the main ones that really go through a lot of situations. I saw Project Hail Mary yesterday. It was amazing. 10 out of 10. Beautiful visuals and cinematography. Beautiful score and perfect acting from Ryan Gosling. He deserves an Oscar. I'm definitely going to go see Project Hail Mary at some point. I was going to go see it this weekend, but some things came up, so I'm definitely going to go try to see it. But I've been hearing some really great things about it. I haven't had the time to read the book. I wanted to read the book before I got a chance to go see the movie, but I'll probably have to read the book afterwards just to kind of see If there were some things they did differently from the book, if there's some things they did kind of accurately from the book, I think that would be pretty cool. Speaking of character development, Project Hail Mary did very good with that, considering the movies these days don't do much of that when it comes to movies. Yeah, that's true. You said, to be honest, I'm not going to watch Toy Story 5 because it's going to be pointless and cringeworthy with technology humor. The voice acting seems like they come from AI. I could see that point, about, technology, being like the focal point. Like, okay, well, this is a big tablet now. The villain of the movie is a tablet. But I think the point that they're trying to make, and maybe this is how they're going to spin it. I hope this is how they're going to spin it. But kids nowadays don't really play with toys like that. You know what I mean? It's they get a tablet, they get a phone, and it's like that's their toy. They can do everything on it. They feel as if I don't need a toy. I have my little tablet, or I have my little phone, so I don't really need you know toys. And for that, I think the point that they're trying to get across is that toys feeling useless because of the use of technology. Maybe there's a way that they could try to spin it to where you can have both. You don't have to just have your phone or your tablet. You can have toys too. Maybe toys can be a way to enhance the imagination through technology. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I would hope and I would imagine that maybe there's a way that they'll try to put some kind of message in there for maybe the parents and for the kids that, yeah, toys are important. Toys are an important part in children's lives, because that is a way how they're able to have these imagination. A lot of you can maybe relate to this. When you were a kid and you had your Transformer toys, your Spider-Man toys, the action figures, things like that, you can relate to it because it's like you took those toys and you made a whole world out of it. Rather you wanted Megatron and Optimus Prime to fight, if you wanted Godzilla and Homer Simpson to fight, like whatever imagination you had as a kid, that was something that's very vital. And I think now, even now, it's very vital for kids to have that imagination aspect where they can take these two worlds who have no relation to each other, but they can make it their own and create something in their minds beautiful out of it, something exciting for them. So that's what I hope the narrative spins with. Now, as far as if the voice acting is AI and stuff, no idea. I would hope that's not AI, because again, the power of voice acting is knowing that it's coming from an actual person. And I mentioned this to someone, I mentioned this to my barber the other day. He had asked me, hey, do you use AI in your work and stuff? And I tell him no. And I told him the reason why. I said the reason why I don't use AI is, one, because I feel like it's a soulless tool, and two, I put it this way. Imagine you have a chunk of wood, right? You have a chunk of wood and you say, I'm going to make a sculpture. So you take a blade, you know, take that blade and you start cutting pieces of wood off of that chunk. You polish it up. You put it together. You cut out this corner. You cut out that corner. You may get some stitches. You may even get some wood chips stuck in your hand while you're cutting it. But the amazing thing about it is when you get done with that wood chunk and you make that sculpture, when you finally have that sculpture in your hand and you say, wow, this was just a small chunk of wood, and now it's a sculpture. I did that all by hand. That's something amazing. That's something to be proud of, to know when people come in and say, wait a minute, you made that wood sculpture? Did you make that wood sculpture? Yes, I did make that wood sculpture. I put my time, heart, energy. I had some pricks in my finger. I had to put band-aids on my finger from all the wood stitches. I did everything to make sure that this sculpture was what it needed to be. And when people are like, "Wow, that is amazing." There's just no greater feeling than feeling like something that you made yourself. You didn't need a machine, you didn't need a tool. You didn't need anything else to make it. All you needed was your hands and that knife in your hand to carve that wood until you knew exactly what you wanted to make. So that's my status on that. AI could never encapsulate the feeling of hard work and the human touch that comes with it. We're given five senses: to see, to feel, to hear, to taste. There's one more: to smell, right? All those five senses that we're given, we use all those things, right? Imagine living in a world where you can't use all your five senses. You can't smell anything, you can't touch anything, you can't taste anything, you can't hear anything. That's what AI is. It's soulless with no senses. So yeah, I feel like if we weren't I feel like if it wasn't for Star Lord punching Thanos, then they would have won. Tony Stark and Black Widow would have lived. Yeah, I know people were very upset about Star Lord for what he did, but at the same time, I understand why he was upset. He was loss of emotions just due to what happened. Um, and he feels like it is Thanos' fault what happened. He felt like he needed to take that anger out. Now, granted, was it the right time and place to take out that anger? No. But I think that was destined to happen in the first place. Because if you remember, Doctor Strange said we only have two scenarios where we win. All the rest we lose. So him punching Thanos, it had to happen in order for us to lose the first time, to come back for the Avengers to win again. Now, do we know what really that other second option would have been, for them to win? No idea. Very interesting. It would be very interesting to know what that other scenario would have been, for them to win. But I think the path that we went in that story, I think that was the path that they needed to go through. And unfortunately, Star Lord had to punch Thanos for it to happen. Unfortunately. To be honest, we did see a shot in Brand New Day trailer where it looked like the task force or the damage control was being controlled by which Jean Grey does. Yeah, that's definitely what I was talking about a few minutes ago about like yeah, there's definitely a mind control force that's out there. And the only one that I can think of is Jean Grey. I don't know of any other. There probably is some other mutant characters out there that do have. Obviously, Charles Xavier has telepathy, but as far as like in this movie, I think Jean Grey is the only one that kind of settles that score. I'm honestly glad he did because if he didn't, we wouldn't have gotten the crazy ending where it was the first Marvel movie where the villain won. That also wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have gotten Endgame exactly, and that's why whatever happens in Doomsday, rather somebody lets Doctor Doom go, rather there's a betrayal, whatever happens, Doctor Doom is gonna win. He's gonna win. He's gonna be God Emperor Doom, Everything that he settled his score with from the very beginning, everything that he wanted to do, he's going to succeed in. And that's going to bring us to Secret Wars. Now, Secret Wars is where the real struggle of the story begins. Because now this isn't just a one universe problem, it is a multiverse problem. It is a greater, greater tree in the multiverse problem where we're gonna have to get other people involved. The Avengers, the Fantastic Four, what of the X-Men that are left? Because I'm gonna be honest, there's gonna be some characters that are not making it out of Doomsday. Some characters that we love are not gonna make it out of Doomsday. I'm just gonna go ahead and accept that right now. Doom is coming, and he's coming with force, real force. And so with that in mind, whatever little bit X-Men team that they have left, they need more. They need an army, like Daredevil. We need an army. So they're gonna have to get all the other, whatever other Avengers and other universes, whatever, Ghost Rider, whatever other X-Men team, or we don't know what could happen with Secret Wars. There's so much mystery around Secret Wars. Now, obviously, if you read the comic, then you kind of know, but we don't really know what is going to happen as far as who's going to be on what team, who's going to be where, who's going to, have their loyalties lie with Doom, who's going to have their loyalties lie with the Avengers. We don't know. And I think that's the cool thing about it, is there's so much mystery going on within Doomsday and Secret Wars, to the fact that it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be real interesting to see where they take the story. I hope it's good. Mitsuri, welcome. Welcome to the stream. AI can never replace actors. Exactly. One thing I don't like about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is that Uncle Ben dies before Peter Parker got the spider. Uncle Ben's dying is the reason why Peter Parker became Spider-Man. I understand that. I know that's like a big, thing, and even like with like Tom's, they, people have that same, concern. But I think my thing is, is that they want to try to do something different. And I know, granted, like comic accurate wise, Uncle Ben, he got the spider, he didn't stop the robber. The robber ended up killing his uncle. Everybody knows that story. I think they just didn't want to tread the same waters of what's been done before. Kind of like how, with the Batman, right? With Robert Pattinson, I think it's kind of obvious. They tell you a little bit of the history with the Wayne family and with the other families of Gotham, but they don't show you a scene about how Bruce's family dies or how they get, pruned off the timeline, because that's kind of common knowledge for us, the viewers, the people who have watched so many Batman properties over the years. It's not for us to dive into that again unless there's a narrative reason why. And I think maybe the Batman Part 2, they could kind of come back to the Wayne family with maybe the other families of Gotham that kind of built the structure bounds of that. Maybe with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, because again, remember, Peter's father showed up at the end, right? There could be some kind of twist with that. There could be some kind of reason as to why Peter's father is still around, why he's in jail. We don't know the reason why he's in jail. There could be something that ties back to Uncle Ben. Maybe there was some things going on within Uncle Ben's life that we don't know about mystery-wise, and I think that's kind of like, I'm just trying to see where they go with that. But I understand people kind of feeling like, well, The spider is, important. Uncle Ben is an important factor in his life, and he is, but I think they just wanted to do something different with that. Buddy, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Did you watch the Dune Part 3 trailer? I have not watched it. I haven't. I gotta be honest. The Dune movies, I've tried watching the Dune movies, but I can't seem to get into them. I just can't seem to get into those movies for whatever reason. Like every time I try to turn it on, I always end up going to sleep. I don't know why. It's not that I'm saying that they're not good movies, but I don't know. Maybe they're not my thing. Maybe I need to just kind of one day just like sit down and really lock in and say like, okay, let's watch these movies. But every time that I try, I just keep going to sleep. So I don't think Dune 3 is going to be a movie that I see, but I understand why people are excited for it, and I'm happy that people are excited for Dune 3. I hope it's a good film. Jonathan, you said, hopefully you'll be okay. Yeah, I'll be okay. This whole Reddit situation, it is what it is. People are gonna be people. And it bothered me because it was like, man, like all I do is just post stuff. Like I don't start stuff with people. I don't post weird, suspicious stuff. I post my videos to kind of inform people and maybe sprout a discussion from it. I've had some really rude I've had some really rude things said to me on Reddit. So Reddit is just not the place for anyone. I feel like that place is for people who just go on there to just be rude and angry behind a profile like Twitter these days. I feel like people on Twitter these days, they just hide behind these avatars with characters. They don't show their faces, so they feel like because they don't have to show their face, they have a excuse to be rude and comment and say bad things to people online. But it's like, if you showed your face, if you said these things to people in their face, you would never say that because they would smack the crap out of you if you did. And that's why I think people feel so freely about saying the things that they say because they don't have to deal with that personal interaction with people. But one day, like Catfish, I want someone to make a show where someone is cyberbullying people, saying all these mean and rude things, and then people go and they track down where these people live and expose them for the monsters that they really are, for being rude to people online. There needs to be a show like that to let people know this is what happens when you say rude things to people online and you think you're not going to get any flack for it. So yeah. Strawby, welcome. Welcome to the stream. You said Dune 1 was boring, but Dune 2 is amazing. I'll have to see. Maybe I need to watch Dune 2. Because Dune 1 made me fall asleep. So maybe if I watch Dune 2, maybe Dune 2, I'll like it better. Let's see. What am I on? Okay. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good for the most part. I was looking at my battery, you know. I'm on my phone, so I had to check and see. I don't want my battery to go low. I liked it better when Pete has a reason why he lets Uncle Ben's killer go in Spider-Man 1. In the comics, Peter just left the killer go ignorantly. Yeah, I feel like I feel like in the comics, like, I'll say this, right? And I think a lot of people kind of make this characterization of Peter Parker like, oh my God, why are they making him a antisocial, um, antisocial nervous wreck or whatever they say. And I think really the reason why is because when you really look back at the Peter Parker in the comics that Steve Ditko and Stan Lee made, dude was full of anger. Dude had anger issues throughout. And I get it. He gets bullied in school because he's a nerd and all that. I definitely understand because I was bullied a lot in school. And trust me, I'll keep it honest with you guys. A lot of the bullying that I dealt with did lead to me having anger issues because I was so tired of every day it was like going to school and dealing with people making fun of how I looked, how I talked, the things that I liked, all that stuff. So it really does get to you. But at the same time, I think the problem becomes is when you take it overboard. And I feel like in the comics, I feel like Peter Parker took it overboard sometimes. And his anger, he never really got his anger in check in the beginning. But obviously as he got older, he matured a little bit more. And I'd say like Steve, I'd say more like John Romita Sr. and kind of going forward into the Todd McFarlane stuff. He still had some anger issues for sure, but I feel like they toned down a little bit on the anger part. Because I just feel like earlier Peter Parker, like he had some likable moments, yes, and you felt for him, but at the same time, there were moments where he wasn't a likable person himself. Um, I think a lot of people who do these Spider-Man retrospectives and stuff, these channels and talk about the comics, I feel like that's an aspect of the comics that they deem to forget is that Peter Parker was a big jerk sometimes in the early comic days, you know. It felt more realistic because Peter has a reason why he lets Uncle Ben killer go because the guy cheated on him or scammed him. Yeah, and I think also bear in mind like in the comics like Peter, was a performer, in the Spider-Man costume. He was doing first he had done wrestling matches, and that was before he made the Spider-Man costume. He had done wrestling matches. Then he started doing like Ed Sullivan show and stuff like that in the comics. So he was a performer. Um, and the guy that he was getting paid for didn't really pay him what he deserved. Well, at the time, he had said like, I want this check to go out to Spider-Man. So when he went to the bank and said, hey, I'm cashing this check, they said, hey, we can't cash this check because you're you're Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like Spider-Man has to open up a bank account. If he doesn't have a bank account, we can't cash this check. So he was sitting there with a check that he couldn't collect because he made it out to Spider-Man because he wanted to keep his identity, you know, which I wonder if maybe, but then that kind of would have put two and two together. I don't know how he would have been able to have done that. Like, I think the smart thing for him to have done in the comics wise, but again, he was a kid, so when you're a teenager, you don't really think about all of that. You think, oh, I got a job, I'm about to be performing as Spider-Man, doing all these flips and stuff. I'm not really thinking about, you know, all this extra stuff like opening another bank account under Spider-Man and stuff like that. I'm just thinking about getting the money so I can help Aunt May pay for the rent, and stuff like that. So I think that goes more with again being a teenager. You're not really thinking things through, and again, when you taking on a new power like this, there's so much going on. Like there's so much that you're dealing with. You don't really think all that stuff through like that. Do you prefer OG Daredevil theme or the Born Again theme? I like the Born Again theme better because the choir It adds a layer of more powerful and more emotional theme than the original. I gotta be honest. I liked Born Again, the version of the theme. I obviously the original version of the theme is always going to be a classic, but there's something about the new version, like you said, the choir being one, but also like I don't know how to the violins, right? Like the violins really add another layer to the theme, which I like. Like it gives this like New York. It gives us like this New York gravitas to the theme. Um, it reminds me of like the Law and Order theme song where you hear the violins and stuff like that. I don't know why, but it reminds me of like that. Like you said, there's certain power to it. The Newton brothers composed it. They're the ones who did the FNAF movies. They also did the one for X Men '97 as well. They did the new theme for that, which the new theme for X Men '97 is beautiful. Chef's kiss. The Newton brothers just know how to compose music really good. Them and Zach and Leon Berenberg too. They did music for Cobra Kai, which I loved Cobra Kai. That was one of my favorite shows to watch on Netflix. I'm still bummed out. It's actually been over a year since the show has ended, and I'm still sad about it because that was my show. But Leo and Zach Berenberg did the soundtrack for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that soundtrack, especially the music at the end. I love the music at the end of the episode where they have all the concept art drawings and stuff. Love it. There's ties to the other Spider-Man themes. The piano in the middle of the song. It's you guys have said it's like something straight out of a video game, like Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that. And yeah, I just they did a really good job with his theme. In a way, I kind of wish his theme was like something that they could do for Tom's version. And maybe Tom will get a new theme, but I would love for Tom to get like a new theme, maybe a more orchestra mixed with like rock a little bit, just to kind of show like the shift and transition with his Spider-Man. Maybe we'll get that. I don't know, but I think that would be cool. Wanda, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Yeah, let me know if you guys or anyone has anything else that they would like to talk about. Let me know. Um, if not, I'll probably end the stream. I'll probably chill. I'll find something to watch. I've been watching Superman and Lois lately because I haven't watched it before, so I've been watching Superman and Lois. Really liking Superman and Lois. Um, so I can't wait to finish that up. Then Invincible, I gotta finish that up. I've only seen the first episode. I need to finish up watching the other two episodes. I gotta catch up on Paradise. Shout out to Paradise for getting season 3. Cross, shout out to Cross for getting season 3. I'm been really enjoying Paradise and Cross. Um, so yeah, Michael Giacchino is supposed to be coming back to compose Brand New Day. Okay, I love Michael Giacchino. He's one of my favorite composers. Love the Fantastic Four soundtrack. Love the Batman soundtrack. I mean, he has so many amazing scores under his belt. I'm really hoping he can come back and do Werewolf by Night 2 because I need a Werewolf by Night 2. If not Werewolf by Night 2, uh, Midnight Suns. I think he would be amazing for Midnight Suns. Just what he did with Werewolf by Night, and I say it all the time and I'll say it again. Werewolf by Night is one of the most underrated MCU projects of all time. People don't talk about Werewolf by Night enough. It's literally like Universal Monsters. If you love, the Bride of Frankenstein, Sandman, all those classic Universal monster films. If you love those films, I think you would love something like how they did Werewolf by Night. The black and white version and the color version are just both amazing. Yeah, Giacchino's son. Yeah, his son. Yeah, he did do the score for the Penguin, which is also really good. Hearing that cello at the beginning of the Penguin episodes, so good, so good. I started rewatching the Penguin, and I finished it all the way through. And man, oh man, we all know Vic was gonna go at the end, but it still hurts, man. It still hurts. Vic did everything he could for the Penguin, for Oz, and to see him go out the way he did like that, and just the way they shot it was like, yeah, it's coming. Like the change of look on his face and everything, and just when he does send him to the Shadow Realm, that look of just evil, just pure evil on his face, that smile, it's sickening. But it's so good because it makes you hate the Penguin. It makes you want to see Batman take this guy down, you know, which I think we will see. I don't know if we'll see it in the second movie, but maybe if they do a third movie, maybe we'll see him take down the Penguin. Steve Ditko or John Romita Sr.? I say John Romita Sr. I love Steve Ditko and I love what he contributed to Spider-Man and everything. I will never take that away, you know. But my favorite era of Spider-Man is the John Romita Sr. era because John Romita Sr. took what Steve Ditko did and he expounded upon it and made it something fresh for that time, you know. Um, a lot of things in John Romita Sr. that we had been building up to in the Steve Ditko era, we finally got answers to. Like, who was the identity of the Green Goblin? We finally knew it was Norman Osborn. Mary Jane. When were we finally going to see Mary Jane? We had all these references of Mary Jane. Steve Ditko had a version of Mary Jane. We didn't see her face, but we saw her in very like 50s-esque clothing. And that was it. Like, that was all we saw. But when John Romita Sr. stepped on the page, he modernized not just Peter Parker, but everyone else around him, I feel like. Even Mary Jane, because if I don't know how people would have felt with Mary Jane being, looking like a 50s movie star. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how people would have felt about that. But the way, he brought in Mary Jane with the black tank top and, face a tiger, you just hit the jackpot. Like, iconic. Iconic. And not to say that Steve Ditko doesn't have iconic moments, because the one moment that every Spider-Man media has done is when Peter Parker has been trapped under heavy rocks or a building or structure, and you see him lifting up, powering through and lifting up all of that. That is Steve Ditko. When you see moments with the Vulture, that is Steve Ditko. Amazing Fantasy, Steve Ditko. All these incredible iconic moments that in Brand New Day's trailer that we see, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee made what Spider-Man is today, and without them, there is no Spider-Man. So I will never discredit Steve Ditko because again, he helped create the character. But for me personally, like I said, my favorite era is John Romita Sr. And I feel like John Romita Sr. should also get, that same cred that Steve Ditko and Stan Lee did, even though he came in, years later. I still feel like, he still deserves some credit for building up, big moments that we had been waiting for. Do you think in Brand New Day Peter will give up on Mary Jane and falls in love with Sadie Sink's character, in which is most likely Jean Grey? That would be interesting. That would be a new interesting dynamic because I don't think they've ever done that before in the comics or anything when it comes to Jean Grey. Um, so when I think about it, like it could be an interesting new dynamic, but I think if he was to have like a girlfriend, it would probably be like someone else for a little bit, and then like maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe he goes back to Mary Jane. I could see a scenario like that. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't oppose to it. I think it's interesting dynamic. It would just be a matter of how they play it out. Didn't Steve Ditko era have Harry and Gwen Stacy? Yes. Yeah, he had Harry and Gwen Stacy because around that time, Steve Ditko still had, because Peter was a senior in high school when we first got introduced to him in the comics. And then I think about issue 25. I think he graduated from high school and then he went to college. And that's how we met Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy, and then obviously you had Flash Thompson, he was there, and some of the other characters there too. But we had not gotten introduced to Mary Jane yet. We didn't see her face. Like I said, the only thing we saw was her sitting down with her legs crossed in a, like I said, a very 50s movie star type outfit. And that was it. We didn't get her until issue 42. I think it's issue 42. I might be wrong, but I think it's issue 42 that she was in. Because I believe he was fighting Rhino in that issue. And then that's when at the end she showed up. And Peter was so much in shock. He was trying to dodge Mary Jane so much in the comics. Like, Aunt May, I know you're trying to get me set up with this Mary Jane girl, but I don't want to deal with her. I got Gwen on my mind. I got Betty Brant on my mind. I'm not thinking about Mary Jane. But the first time he saw Mary Jane for the first time, his eyes lit up. And that moment is why I believe, and I'm a full believer, that Mary Jane and Peter Parker were always meant to be together. Regardless of what these comic writers will tell you, what they did with them, I have not ever been a fan of them breaking up. I think the reason why they broke up, this whole Mephisto thing, was very stupid. I don't like it. I've never been a fan of it. If you would have had, maybe Peter Parker and Mary Jane maybe split up for some time, fine. But them having this whole thing where Peter has to decide, does he want to be with Mary Jane or does he want his Aunt May back? Like, I just never really liked that story. I never really liked it. I never really saw the point in it, and that's one thing I wish I could retcon. If Marvel had called me right now and said, we want you to do Amazing Spider-Man, give us one thing that you want to retcon. retcon the whole Mephisto stuff. Because there could have been a better way you could have done the whole thing with Mephisto and Spider Man than him having to choose between his wife or his aunt, which, mind you, his aunt already passed away. And I understand that his aunt is a big integral part into his life. But we had gotten to a point in the comics where Peter kind of accepted the fact that his aunt passed away. There's nothing he can do about that. He just had to accept that she passed away, she died, and she's gone. You know, there's a future to build to. But instead, no, let's bring back Aunt May. Let's bring her back alive. Let Mary Jane and Peter Parker no more. No. Split. Done. Like what? So you would rather initiate the past than not look forward to the future? What about Peter Parker and Mary Jane having a family? What about them having kids? What about them, you know, have maybe buying a house together? Whatever stuff you could have done with a story with Mary Jane and Peter Parker. Why not do that as opposed to just going back to the same threads that we've done since the 60s? And I think that's the problem with some Spider-Man writers. I feel like they try to keep having Peter Parker face the same problems he's been dealing with since the 60s. Peter Parker is not the same character he was in the 60s. Peter Parker has gone through a lot of evolution. And I think it's time we see him grow with his evolution and not have him stick with the same storylines that they keep pushing over and over again, you know? That's why I like Ultimate Spider-Man, because Ultimate Spider-Man gave us a chance to see Peter Parker with the family, him married with kids. How is that dynamic? You know, how is he being an adult and being Spider-Man? You know, how is it like with his uncle, you know, Uncle Ben working at the Daily Bugle? And, you know, well, at the time they were at the Daily Bugle and then they left. But, you know, I like that dynamic. That's something they could have done with Peter Parker in the mainline Amazing Spider-Man comics. But no, they continue to keep going back to the same stuff that they've done in the past. Instead of just letting him grow and letting him evolve. There's some amazing avenues that they could take Peter Parker now with all the movies and TV shows and games that have come out. There's so many different story elements that they could take from those movies, from those games, from those other comic books, and try to make a new story with those story beats. I wish that the night that Gwen Stacy died is adapted. They did that with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but it was kind of a rush. Well, I mean, I don't know if they'll do that, but I do, you know, I do feel and I do think that, you know, with Brand New Day, if the rumor is true, if the idea is true that Keith David could be playing the Jackal, you know the story with the Jackal, the whole Clone Saga. I gotta be honest, I've never been a fan of the Clone Saga. I just think it's too convoluted and there's just too much that goes on in the Clone Saga. I like Ben Riley. I like him as a character, but I don't like the execution of the Clone Saga. I just think there's just too much that doesn't make sense. There's too much that just, I feel like they threw everything at the wall in the Clone Saga. And I feel like if you're going to do the Clone Saga, which I feel like they shouldn't do, if you're going to do that, it has to make sense, you know? Every comic book writer does this because I think that they think it's safer to stick to what works, but hear what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, I definitely understand. Like they think it's easy, but you know, when you think about people when you think of characters like Daredevil, for example, right? When Frank Miller came in and he did Daredevil Born Again, you know, that was a different story. not even just Born Again, but just with the Frank Miller run of Daredevil, right? Like he took new risks, he brought in different characters, he took new opportunities. And to this day, Frank Miller's work is still well revered, of Daredevil Born Again show based off of that. The Daredevil game that we were going to get that got canceled was based off of a lot of Frank Miller's work. So I feel like all they need to do with Spider-Man is to allow a great writer who wants to take Spider-Man to different heights, allow them that grace to create something new and intriguing and special that from iterations, in the future, people would want to, you know, that people will want to adapt. People will want to adapt. Like, hey, I remember when that writer did that story about Peter Parker. That was really good. I would love to adapt something like that. Because that's how Dario and Brad Winterbaum. If you guys have seen the podcast, because they have a Daredevil Born Again podcast, and it's really good, right? And they mention Frank Miller and you know um all the other writers like Chip Zdarsky and all these other writers of Daredevil who have done some things to elevate the character into new bounds. Why can't we have that with Spider-Man? Why can't we have writers that expound upon Peter Parker, maybe more of the psychology of Peter Parker, a deeper look into his psychology, you know, as well as growing up and evolving into something much bigger than him just being someone who faces adversity, who overcomes adversity every single time. The 90s cartoon made fun of the Clone Saga. I mean, yeah, like I said, the Clone Saga, from what I heard, because I wasn't around during that time, but from what I heard, like, it was very mixed. A lot of people didn't like the Clone Saga, and even to this day, there's still people who just regret that. They say that's one of the worst things they ever did with Spider-Man was the Clone Saga. So if you're like I said, if they're going to go about it in the way with the Jackal, they have to have a way for it to make sense. Because if not, that idea might fall on its face again, like the Clone Saga did. You know, was I? I'm guessing you're trying to say were. I guess you're trying to say if I'm a fan of the Daredevil 2003 movie. No, I'm not. I'm gonna be honest with you. The only thing I liked in that was the Kingpin. The actor who played the Kingpin in that movie. That was probably the only thing I liked. But other than that, I did not like the 2003 Daredevil movie. It was not good at all. Um, some people may say it was good. Some people may say it wasn't that bad. I just wasn't a fan of it. So yeah. Did you see that Donald Glover was casted as Yoshi in Super Mario Galaxy? Yes, I did. That was a shock. I did not expect that Donald Glover would be the one playing Yoshi, but you know what? It works. It does. It works. And even like from the trailer, like the snippets of what I've heard in the trailer and stuff, he's doing really good. I see why they casted him. I'm a big Atlanta fan. I love Atlanta. One of my favorite shows. The show is hilarious. Donald Glover, he's just an all-out talented guy. He can act, he can sing. Uh, he's funny. Like they couldn't have casted a better person to play Yoshi, in my opinion. Come on. Okay. I'm probably gonna end the stream in a few because I don't want my phone to die because it's like on getting close to 50. So if you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know now and I'll try to answer them quickly. But yeah, I appreciate everybody who, showed up in the stream, came through. Amazing discussion. I'll do another live because Daredevil's this week, so I'm gonna try to do a episode one discussion. We'll also talk about, Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer as well. Um, Even Invincible, if you guys want to talk Invincible, just kind of like a mix up of different things that we'll try to talk about during that stream. Because I'm excited for season two. I'm so excited for season two. I can't wait. So I think that'll be a really good stream. Whatever we get about the regular show, I think the trailer is coming out tomorrow, so I will definitely do a reaction to the regular show trailer, whatever it is that we get for the Lost Tapes. I'll definitely do that. And is there anything else? Probably like a update video on like the stuff at WonderCon, what was talked about and stuff like that. That'll probably be another video I'll try to do. Does censorship can be inconsistent in the Spider-Man '90s cartoon? Yeah, like I said, it aired on Fox Kids, so a lot of what they did then and a lot of what they did now, um, certain things, they try to censor for you know, maybe certain jokes don't land well like they did back in the '90s and stuff like that. You know how it is with things these days. Any more theories on Brand New Day after the trailer? I had a theory, but I've now forgotten what the theory is. I just think that whatever is going on with Peter, I just think that they're going to try to get down to the bottom of whatever mutation he's got going on before he fully transforms into Man Spider. Because I feel like they want to try to save that momentum for something like if the symbiote comes around, right? They want to try to save that momentum of maybe him being too much of Spider-Man and him being Man Spider is just the beginning of that. But if he gets the symbiote and the symbiote takes over, then at that point, he'll have no control over but to be Spider-Man. You know what I mean? He'll have no control because the symbiote will take control of that. So I think that the Man Spider is just the appetizer of what we're going to see with this trilogy, with him being too focused in on being just Spider-Man and not being Peter Parker. And I'm hoping if we do get that the Fantastic Four do help him, like in the comics, they help him get the symbiote off. Because I would love maybe Reed Richards maybe gives him some kind of synthetic, symbiote suit that he can wear. If not, maybe they can stick to him maybe just having it in the second movie, and then the third movie he can go back to just being red and blue, the red and blue hero that we know and love. So yeah, Daredevil week. Yes, it is. It is Daredevil week. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm gonna be doing a stream for that probably the day after the episode comes out, so that way we can discuss it. What happened and everything. Because like I said, I'm so excited for Daredevil. Like I've been thinking about it, and I've been watching all the little TV spots and trailers and stuff, and this season is an upgrade just from everything that I've seen. It's an upgrade from season one, and I can't wait to see what the new team has in store for us this time around. So yeah, other than that, I think that'll be it. Before I go, I always try to shout you guys out. So let's see here. Who we got? Kelly Simone, if you're still here, shout out to you. Shout out to Fem Account. Shout out to Caden. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Jonathan. Shout out to Clay. Shout out to Kurt's Knight. Even though you called me James Harden and Cleveland Brown, I'll take it because they're both famous and they are both successful. So that's more of a compliment to me. Maceo, shout out to you. Lord, shout out to you. Again, no fingers in places that they don't belong. Vella's edits. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Shout out to you. Nostalgic Time. Shout out to you. Always a common watcher and supporter. It's always amazing having you in the streams. Maceo, you as well. Always awesome to have you in the streams. Just amazing discussions. Let's see. Is there anyone? There were some more people. John, shout out to you, John, if you're still here. Wanda, shout out to you. Strawby, if you're still here, shout out to Strawby. Buddy B, shout out to you. I believe that is it. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, thank you all so much for tuning into what was a partial, not even a rant stream, to be honest with you. It was more of like a disappointment over Reddit. So yeah, will not be posting on Reddit anymore. That is done. So you can thank the people over at Reddit. You can thank the moderators over at Reddit for that. But I got other places. Like I said, I got all my social media platforms down in the link below. It's also, if you click on my channel, I have all the links and stuff that I'm at: Instagram, Twitter, you know, stuff like that. So if you want to check me out, check out what I post, personal wise, but also like content wise, TikTok as well. So yeah, I can't wait for Daredevil week. It is Daredevil week, and I'm excited. And I'm excited to see what this regular show trailer is about to be tomorrow. So yeah, thank you all so much for tuning into the streams. It means so much to me. And just supporting the content as always. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good night or a good day wherever or whenever you're watching this. And be good to yourself. Yeah, be good to yourself. Peace out, y'all.